Welcome to the week that was, but we mostly wish it wasn't, for the week ending November 14th, 2025. This is a weekly roundup of the highlights and lowlights of campus anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism. This week I had around 45 stories to choose from. If something is happening in your neck of the woods, please be sure to let me know. I'm your host, Andrew Pessin. I am a professor. Please don't hate me. For more about me and my work, visit andrewpessin.com. For all the details of today's stories and loads more stories, follow me on X at Andrew Pessin. I begin today with an announcement. I will shortly be launching the Institute for the Critical Study of Anti-Zionism, a scholarly enterprise aiming to document and expose the sordid origins and the malevolent development of anti-Zionism, from its starting point in the protocols of the Elders of Zion through the Nazis, the Soviets, the Muslim Arabs, and the Western progressives. I am seeking interested collaborators and possible sponsors, so if that's you, please do reach out in order to discuss. We begin with a couple of pieces published this week. A new poll has come out, a tracking poll that has been ongoing since the beginning of the war against Hamas, October 7th war. It shows the lowest favorability for Israel ever measured among U.S. college students, as well as a persistent climate of intolerance towards Jewish identity and expression. The Anti-Defamation League, not to be outdone, released a study this week of professional associations for academics and finds that too many of them have allowed anti-Semitism to flourish unchecked within their organizations by excluding Jewish members and promoting anti-Semitic and deeply biased anti-Israel narratives in their work. Large percentages of Jewish faculty report concealing their identity, feeling very uncomfortable and targeted. Amongst the worst violators are the Middle East Studies Association and the American Anthropological Association. Okay, let's get to the news. We start with Harvard University. The school newspaper published this past week an opinion piece by an ethicist arguing that it is ethical to drop your Zionist friends. At the same time, Harvard has hired a professor to teach a course on American Judaism, a professor who hates Israel, supports boycotting it, and avoids synagogues if they have a whiff of a whiff of Zionism. Princeton University, similarly not to be outdone, has hired a professor to teach a course called Gender, Reproduction, and Genocide, a professor who compares the Israel-Hamas conflict to the Holocaust, denies the October 7th massacre, and advocates the destruction of Israel. Cornell University reached a deal this week with the Trump administration to unfreeze some of their frozen federal funds by agreeing to commit to the administration's interpretation of civil rights laws concerning anti-Semitism and also other policies about race and admission. The University of California, Berkeley, a group there, a fundraising campaign organized by Berkeley STEM for Palestine and Berkeley Faculty and Staff for Justice in Palestine, has been raising money for a Gaza resident who has been documented at the Popular Front for Liberation of Palestine ceremonies, a designated terror group, who has praised Hamas's October 7th massacre and has pictures of himself wielding automatic weapons. Good stuff going on at Berkeley there. The new school in New York City, a campaign is underway to remove the school's Hillel from the campuses. And by the way, this is how anti-Zionism does typically proceed. You make Zionism an evil thing, and then you use that as a weapon to punish and expel your Jews. It happened in the Soviet Union, it happened throughout the Middle East and North Africa, it happened in Poland in the 1960s, and it appears to be happening here in America in the year 2025. Trinity College, Hartford, students and faculty for Justice in Palestine, I guess their group is combined there, launched a classroom chalkboard campaign this week, filling chalkboards and whiteboards all across the campus with written messages that read things like Trinity invests in genocide and demanding for the disclosure of endowment holdings, calling for a free Palestine and divestment from any entities tied to Israel. The school president did condemn the messages as politicizing classrooms and violating their standards of respectful open inquiry. The University of Missouri, the university removed an SJP chalking of From the River to the Sea at a school speaker circle. SJP is outraged at the censorship and claiming that they are exploring whether removing the chalking is a Title VI violation. Chapman University, there is a recently filed anti-Semitism lawsuit going on there. This is in Los Angeles, I believe. Apparently, according to this lawsuit, Jewish students there tried to attend a teach-in that was hosted by Students for Justice in Palestine, peacefully, respectfully to build bridges, they say. They were banned from the meeting, not for what they said, not for what they did, but because of their names. Jewish-sounding names were used to identify people who might support Israel, and unless they explicitly denounced Israel, they were barred from the meeting. But here's where it gets even stranger. Who was standing at the door blocking the students from entering? It was a dean of the college. So a dean of the college is blocking Jewish students from entering a school meeting. UCLA this week held a conference revisiting, i.e., reaffirming the notorious UN resolution that Zionism is racism. University of Wyoming, there were several incidents in the past couple of weeks. Pumpkins were carved with Nazi symbols, and a free speech ball was inscribed with "Kill the Jews" and "Free Palestine." And now we do a special international segment. There was quite a bit of international news this past week. In Canada, Brock University, Jewish faculty network Jewish faculty network panelists came together to discuss the harms of weaponizing anti-Semitism, meaning, in other words, using it to block criticism of Israel. There was a Palestine Brock University event called Anti-Semitism, Law, Justice, and Decolonization in a Time of Genocide this past week, or actually a little over a week ago. The event was co-sponsored by the President's Advisory Committee for Human Rights, Equity, and Decolonization, the Social Justice Research Institute, the MA Program in Social Justice and Equity Studies, the Indigenous Educational Studies, and the Center for Women's and Gender Studies. So this is what we would call institutional or systemic here. The event featured three scholars from the Jewish Faculty Network, all of whom argued that accusations of anti-Semitism are used to silence criticism of Israeli state violence at a time of genocide. So systemic support of Jews weaponizing anti-Semitism. Also in Canada, at the University of Guelph, they held a protest this week, or a protest was held this week targeting a Jewish student group on the campus. The rally was calling for students supporting Israel to be held accountable, and it was endorsed and run by a group identifying itself as Guelph Faculty and Staff for Palestine. So just think about that for a moment. A faculty and staff group organizing against a Jewish student group. In the United Kingdom, University of College London, a bizarre event this week. Their SJP there brought in a lecturer who discussed the famous blood libel as if, in fact, it was true, specifically referring to the Damascus incident in the early 19th century, telling students, do your own research, i.e., check it out. It's true. Jews really do use blood for their, she actually made some mistakes, but does blood for their matzah is the standard libel. Subsequently, the university happily condemned the event and banned the speaker from returning to campus. In Spain, a new report came out this week on anti-Semitism in Spanish universities. Allow me to summarize it for you. It's bad. In Germany, the Free University of Berlin canceled a talk by an October 7th massacre survivor due to security concerns, saying they couldn't ensure the safety of the participants. Also in Germany, at the Berlin Technical University, some Jewish students there barricaded themselves in a building to protest anti-Semitism. The students, calling themselves the group Occupy Against Anti-Semitism, barricaded themselves in the student council building in protest of the hostile atmosphere on campus. Quote, "We demand that the University of Berlin be a safe place for Jewish and Israeli students," they declared. Imagine 1930s Germany here, but good for them adopting the tactics of the other side, I suppose. And in South Africa, at least 80 Jewish doctors and healthcare professionals have resigned from the South African Medical Association after it endorsed BDS against Israel, suspended all ties with the Israel Medical Association, and called for that association's expulsion from the World Medical Association. So once again, anti-Zionism is used as a cudgel to drive Jews out here. In the legal department at the University of Kentucky, a law professor has filed a lawsuit against the school for banning him from teaching after his comments about Israel, comments including the demand that the world wage war against Israel and destroy it. In the K through 12 department, always a busy section, San Francisco, a 15-year-old Jewish girl transferred out of University High School after being relentlessly bullied for being Jewish. Her family then submitted a 72-page report to the North Coast section, which is the athletic board there, asking for a hardship waiver so she could keep playing varsity tennis and track. The board denied her request because the school claimed that nothing had happened. So she's missed most of her season. Massachusetts K through 12. The final report of the Massachusetts Special Commission on Combating Anti-Semitism came out, and let me summarize that report for you. It's bad. anti-Semitism in Massachusetts public schools. Jewish and Israeli kids are hiding their identity. There's swastikas, Zionist is used as a slur, and Holocaust jokes are routine. Some of the curricula, including endorsed by the teachers' unions, of course, are pushing anti-Israel falsehoods. And for the first time, Massachusetts recorded more anti-Jewish hate crimes than anti-Black ones this past year. Well, that's the news, unfortunately. Tune in next week to see what fresh horrors next week might bring. Again, I'm your host, Andrew Pessin at andrewpessin.com, hoping everybody manages to hold it together until next week. See you then.